All right, good afternoon, traders. Today is July 28th, 2025. My name is John Carignan. I am the lead instructor here at the BYOB Trading Room. That is the day trading division of the hit and run candlesticks family. All right, let's go check it out, how I made 100K today. All right, so there's the gains right through there on the SPY. Made a few other gains on AVGO, got some on AVGO, and let me see if there's anything else. Nothing else. And I lost some on TSM. All right, so they kind of cancel each other out. Anyways, let's start with the first one, the puts right here. Okay, so we had a rollover where price came and H pattern rolled over right here. And then we H'd again right here, H pattern rollover right underneath the pivot. So we came into the pivot, all right, and I'll draw it in there for you. Let's get the drawing tools. Here we are. And you can see price action comes down. All right, price action comes down and then rolls over right underneath VWAP all the way back to the pivot. Now you notice the bounce off the pivot is like $1.25. That's a normal bounce off the pivot. All right, so whenever you see us come in kind of hard and fast to the pivot, there could be a $1.25 bounce or better. All right, so here's the H pattern rollover, and then we rolled down to here, and then we rolled over again right underneath the pivot to come all the way down to the first support line right here at the red line right there. Then we double bottomed, okay, and I bought some calls to come all the way back up here. Okay, so there's the made 130 on the puts, so I bought them kind of low right in there, and then I traded them all the way up to the top up there, and then I just kind of reloaded as we were kind of flagging over to the right. I was looking for price to make another move to the downside, but after I caught the double bottom, I had a good hunch. Price was probably going to head back up to VWAP, only because FOMC's coming out this Wednesday, and I think the market is excited about the possibility of a rate cut, and I think they're all anticipating that rate cut. All right, so I think there's a lot of anticipation. As you can see, the rally back to VWAP right here kind of shows you some of that anticipation of price getting a rate cut, as the rate's getting a cut, and then price probably going to rally on that rate cut news. Okay, so we'll see what happens. All right, again, it was just a theory, and the theory traded out well, buying some 1 penny calls down here and buying some 3-cent calls down here to rip all the way back up to VWAP right there. So I bought some puts and we traded, and I had a 10-minute downtrend right through here. Okay, so let's take a look at that 10-minute downtrend. I'm going to put it on the 10-minute chart so you can visualize the 10-minute downtrend. Okay, and you can see right here the 3 is underneath the 8. Okay, so we have a 10-minute downtrend. It is under VWAP right here. Notice the 10-minute downtrend did not manifest after the red erases green event. Okay, so remember I talk about green erases red and red erases green, and I said there is a possibility that if a 10-minute downtrend does manifest up here, okay, I would be willing to trade it if they break the rubber band candle. There's a break of the rubber band candle right there. That is the rubber band candle. It's free floating away from it. It's huge. So I traded the puts and I started to accumulate them through here in this 10-minute downtrend for price to drop right into the first support line. They didn't even quite make the first support line, which was kind of good news, all right, because my pivot was 636.20, and they kind of nailed that right on the money right there. And price action came all the way back up. Okay, so we had a 10-minute downtrend. As long as the trend was intact, okay, on that trend, as long as that trend was intact, okay, I'm looking at my 10-minute candles, and I'm buying the lows and selling the highs. Okay, you can see I sold a pile of them up there, okay, to capture about $86,000 right there. All right, I was capturing little bits, 5 quantities of 5 and 5 and 5 and 5, and then I'd let the whole thing go up there, 2275 contracts, and I was able to capture 86,000. Okay, I got a big account, so it's easy for me to do that. For you guys that don't have a big account, I can understand why you can't do that. I get it, but I'm just saying I was just traded. Okay, you can do it on a smaller time frame. Again, you can trade the 10-minute downtrend, looking at the candles, buying the lows and selling the highs, buying the lows, selling the highs. All right, that's what I did. Then we were bear flagging through here, and I thought we'd get a breakdown, but instead we got the double bottom, and I said there might be a possibility for a rip back to VWAP, and that's what would happen right there. Okay, so there's the 130 on those puts. The next one was the calls, okay, and I was looking for price to rally back up over VWAP. We did get a little rally right here. You can see where I bought some calls, kind of sold them into that little mini rally. Again, another little mini rally after that big candle. Looking again, so buying the lows of those candles, all right, and selling the highs. Buying the lows and selling the highs. Okay, same thing here on these. This one happened at the end of the day. This is one of the ones where I bought 1,000 shares at 3 cents a share. Okay, 1,000 contracts at 3 cents a share, and that was for the rip back to VWAP, and you can see that turned out nicely. And then we had some 639 calls, and I thought price would eventually make its way after 230 back up here to VWAP. Then it started to bear flag, so I gave up on that and just tried to exit at a break even with a very little profit on that. I got some 650 calls, still holding those, and I have some 645 calls that I'm way underwater on. Okay, and I lost 4K on the 645K calls, 645 calls. All right, and I gained about 2K on the 650 calls. All right, so there's the 650 calls where I kind of sold off into the rally and reloaded. All right, and here's the 645 calls where I wound up losing money on those, selling them for less than what I bought them for. All right, so that's those. And then here comes the 638 calls. All right, that never really worked out. All right, I was looking for that price, was kind of moving to the right all day. I was looking for it to climb on top of VWAP and eventually start to get going with all that bullishness that we had in the overnight and in the pre-market. Okay, and you can see I got very little movement in my direction, and I was able to didn't capture anything. Actually, lost money on that. Lost 46K on those. Okay, so that was it. And then I have, this is my positions, okay, for overnight. Right here, this is what I have. All right, I got 16,000 of these 2 days till expiration 645 calls. All right, I got 16,000 of those. I've got 425 of these QQQ calls. All right, that's 580. And I've got 1,200 of the 650 calls. And I'm still holding 300 of the puts. So if they fail to make a higher high over here, and you can see this is where I traded AVGO to profit 80 on those. And the TSM, I covered some of my short TSM, all right, to lose $72 there. I see TSM moving higher. All right, so on that price action for that. So let's move this over to the side. All right, and what did I want to look at? I wanted to look at something, and I can't think of what I wanted to look at. Well, anyways, all right, I covered that. All right, let's go into what we're facing tomorrow. All right, what we're facing tomorrow is a 10-minute uptrend coming into the close. So I'm looking for a continuation of that 10-minute uptrend. All right, a continuation of the 10-minute uptrend, meaning I'd be looking for a decent green candle, something like this or that, okay? I don't want anything with a big topping wick, okay? I'm not going to want a big topping wick. I got to make a note, we made a failure to make a higher high, all right? So there's a possibility that we're rolling down here tomorrow, and I think we tag anchored VWAP quickly and then shoot right back up. That's what I feel like happens. All right, so there might not be a 10-minute uptrend, a continuation of this 10-minute uptrend. Notice the 10-minute uptrend is only 1, 2, 3 candles strong. It's a really weak 10-minute uptrend. All right, and for the most part, you can see the strength of the 10-minute downtrend having much more candles in the downtrend. Failure to make a higher high probably means they're going to come back down and test the lows. And if not, try and tag this anchored VWAP right here, right about 633.55. All right, and then maybe on down to 630, and then I'd look for a reversal. I would move to a shorter time frame and look for a price to reverse and start heading all the way back up to 640. All right, I do foresee a possibility, a really good possibility of FOMC having a rate cut. They're going to make an announcement on Wednesday, so we'll see what happens. All right, they might surprise us. We'll see what happens. Okay, so there's 10-minute. We got a weak 10-minute uptrend coming into the close on the 2-hour chart. Okay, I'm just going to turn this off because it gets confusing for everybody looking on. All right, you can't kind of see it. So on the 10-minute chart, let's go to the game plan one and dig out the 2-hour. Okay, so on the 2-hour chart, we still have an uptrend right here. Okay, so your 3 is on top of the 8. So we still have a 2-hour uptrend. All right, coming into the close. All right, let's go look at the 10 one more time. Again, that is a weak 10-minute uptrend right there. Actually, now it's only 2 candles strong right there. See that? Just 2 candles. All right. Now, when we opened up this morning, I said I was looking for a continuation of the 10-minute uptrend. All right. And we got it. All right. So we rallied up quickly and we got to 638. And then we just kind of got rolled over with all these wicks up here. And then we rolled into this with a bounce back to VWAP right there. Okay. Again, I was looking for first thing out of the gate was some kind of green candle. But they just kind of moved to the right, and then they broke off. They had a break of the open range. This is the open range right here. So they broke the open range up on the top side. All right, so, and they didn't get anywhere. You can see all the wicks. See how they weren't able to really close any candles on the top side of the open range? All right, it's helpful when they close a candle up there, okay? And let me just say, if they happen to close a candle, watch for the next candle to like reverse and wipe it out. All right. But if they don't, there's a good chance that now it's stuck up there and that you're going to get a 10-minute uptrend to the upside. All right. So there's SPY. That was the opening range, and we traded the opening range. As you can see, it was relatively flat all the way across right there until we had that 10-minute downtrend, and that was tradable right there. And we traded the 10-minute downtrend. And I traded it right as price red erases green. Okay, so for green, this would be the green from the bottom here, clear up to the top there. All right, and then the red erases green. I'm going to move this over. And this would be the red erases green, will be this box here. It'll be the wider one. You can see here's red erases green. Okay, so you can see the entry for me on one of these. All right. If you want to know how I trade, all right, I take the body of the candle. So right here, I don't include all that wick. So right there, that would be my entry. Price below there, that would be my entry. And I trade it down to here. Okay? And that would be red erases green. Okay? Notice this is the green from this low up to that high. Well, red came in and went from this high down to this low. That's red erasing everything that the bulls have just done. Okay? And notice we didn't put in a higher high. Chances are we're going to roll over and come back down and test these lows tomorrow morning. All right? If not, start out lower. Probably look for that anchored VWAP. All right? Down there for price target. All right? So there's 10 minute. All right? You got a 10-minute uptrend. Got a 2-hour uptrend. Still in a daily uptrend. All right? See that? Still 3 on top of the 8. Still in a daily uptrend. And did we make new all-time high today? And yes, we did. All right, so SPY makes a new all-time high again today. Again, drop the mic, nothing else to be said. It doesn't get any better than that, all right? Weekly chart. Weekly still in an uptrend. You can see all the green candle balls right there. See all the green balls. Monthly chart. See all the green candle balls right there. Still in an uptrend right there, okay, on the daily. Okay, back out. See all the green candle balls? We're still in an uptrend, all right? So what do I like? I like a 10-minute uptrend that's over VWAP. I like it when it's peeling away from VWAP. It's separating itself from VWAP. I like that 10-minute uptrend inside a 2-hour uptrend. I like the 2-hour uptrend inside a daily uptrend, the daily uptrend inside the weekly uptrend inside the monthly uptrend, and all of that over the all-time high anchored VWAP or the prior all-time high anchored VWAP, okay? That's my favorite setup. For me, it doesn't get any better than that, all right? And this is a rare opportunity you have right now to capitalize on those 10-minute uptrends over VWAP, all right, that are inside of all of that. Because you got all the forces of nature just pushing and filling your wind, filling your sails with wind to push your product higher and higher. And look how it's just going like higher. There's a new high. There's a new high. There's a new high. There's a new high. And this was a new high. And that was a new high. And that was a new high at one time, okay? Until this one took it out. Okay? And then that was a new high until this one took it out. Okay? It's just going, going, going. All right? I really foresee price getting up to 655. We'll see where it goes. All right? I have a theory. All right? I'm just working my theory. All right? We're in an uptrend. You stay with the trend until it ends, okay? And nothing is broken on the trend yet, okay? This is all still working. All right? Everything is still working. All right? It may start getting parabolic. I'm telling you, stay with the trend until it ends. All right? You're going to see this thing. It's going to start to like really rip and ride. All right? We're in the midst of what we could call, it's called the AI bubble. Remember the .com bubble? All right? And then there was a tech bubble. All right? And then there was a housing market bubble. Well, right now, we are winding up an AI bubble. All right? And it's huge. All right? And it's capable of really ripping this market up to brand new highs that we probably won't touch in 10 years, okay? In other words, after we hit these highs, we probably melt off for the next 5 years and spend the 5 years after that trying to recover the melt off, okay? All right, I really foresee price really either making a blasting new high sometime soon. And you know, we got a lot of stuff in the pipeline, okay? A lot of catalysts in the pipeline that could facilitate that all-time high that's parabolic, okay? And I'm talking about earnings, okay? Think about it, okay? A lot of these companies just went through inflation. What does inflation do? Well, that increases the price of goods and services. All right, when that happens, that means all of those companies that are selling goods and services are taking in more revenue. All right, because the price is increased. All right, now that they're taking in more revenue, chances are, if they've got good management, all right, they're bringing a lot of a lot of that higher revenue down to the bottom line, which is the profits. And when you get higher profits, people are willing to pay more when they're seeing the profits are growing. All right? And when that happens, you get a frenzy. The FOMO sets in, okay? You don't get the FOMO, okay? Always check your emotions. Don't get the FOMO. And that's why I'm trying to help you now to prepare for what's coming, all right? There's going to be a moment where you're going to say, oh my God, this thing's really going to the moon, you know, all right? Don't get the FOMO, okay? Be strategic. Have some longer term options that can just ride that parabolic move out so you don't get into a chase, all right? Have a plan where you have green erases red, and those will be your entries, okay? You want the bulls to step in. You don't want to get burned, all right? So I think it's coming. I don't know when it comes, but we got a lot of stuff in the pipeline that could still be catalyst. We went back to the negotiating table with Canada. Things didn't work out, you know, but this is just the second round of negotiations. There might be a third, a fourth, or a fifth. Who knows, all right? You've got two egos that are trying to make something happen, each for their own country, and I understand it, all right? Everybody wants a great deal, all right? Including us, you know, we want a great deal, and they want a great. I would like to see deals that are fair for both sides. I really like to see fair trade. I might be asking too much to ask for that, but I think that would help out everybody. Okay, as long as both sides benefit. All right, so we got a lot of things that could be catalysts and could be movers. Okay, one is the AI bubble. All right, negotiations for trade. That's another one. And, you know, just a lot of good things. We got the big, beautiful bill that got passed. That's going to inject a lot of money into the economy as soon as Congress just allocates that to the correct people so that they can start facilitating those projects. All right? So there's a lot of stuff coming real soon. All right? So there's SPY on the daily chart. We're in an uptrend. Okay? Let's take a look at QQQ. All right, QQQ. Yep, guess what? New all-time high, okay? Drop the mic, and I've said it doesn't get any better than this. Okay, QQQ. Let's take a look at FNGU. Yeah, new all-time high on FNGU, okay? Drop the mic, it doesn't get any better than that, okay? Got the launch pad being constructed. All right, now we're starting to get that breakout like that. There's FNGU. Let's take a look at IWM. All right, here's IWM moving up, constructing the launch pad right here, all up here at the top, all right, of quadrant 3. So that's in the upper third, so that's bullish. All right, if you're in the upper third, up here, this is bullish up here, okay? This is bearish in the lower third, that's bearish, okay? This is neutral, all right, all through here, okay? So that's bullish. All right, and you can see price action, all right, up there, planking. Have you ever planked before? All right, it's like you get on your elbows and then your toes, and you lift your whole body between your elbows and your toes up off the ground, and you hold it there, okay? It's hard to do, okay? That's what they're doing right now. They're planking for a whole month, all right? It takes incredible amount of strength. That means it's strong, all right? Because you see it planking up there, okay? It's up, and it's holding the higher ground, as opposed to moving up, all right, and giving it up. That's just neutral. This is bullish when you get it to move up, hold the higher ground, okay? That's bullish up there, okay? See how it's not giving it up, all right? So it's in an uptrend. You got a couple of lows right here, okay? Couple of lows, okay, right here, couple of lows, 1, 2, all right? Got some higher lows, so we got some highs here, and then we got some higher highs, okay? So that's an uptrend right there, okay? Uptrend and bullish, holding that higher ground, okay? Look at that rally. See that rally high right up there. IWM, okay? Bullish, uptrend. Let's take a look at Diamond Dow. All right, Diamond Dow is within striking distance of the all-time high. That's this candle right here, okay? That's the all-time high. again, price action is doing the magic that we like to see. It's moving up and over to the right. Okay, it's moving up and over to the right, constructing that launch pad. You can see a little breakout. See that right over the blue line right there, getting a little breakout to go higher. Okay, it's doing the right stuff. It's bullish. It's in the upper third. It's actually in quadrant 4, holding the higher ground. Again, you've got lows. You got higher lows right here, low, low. You got highs, and then you got higher highs up here. That's an uptrend, bullish. Look at all the green dots. Okay, that's a nice uptrend. That's bullish and an uptrend. And it's over the all-time high anchored VWAP right there. Okay, so that's bullish and in an uptrend. Let's take a look at our technicals for today. All right, let's see if any of my prognostication came true. Okay, you like that word? All right, so I said we'd probably be in the buy zone and the buyer's chop zone. Well, I was wrong about that. We spent the day in the buyer's chop zone, and we did manage to ink out a lower low. Okay, that's not what I wanted, but they are still over the midpoint. Okay, it's actually, I'll just call it an equal low. All right, I kind of thought we'd be up here between the buy zone and the buyer's chop zone. How wrong could I be about that? All right, got a lower high. Of course, with the lower high, bears get inspired to make a lower low. So here's a low. They make a lower low. Nice. All right, so there's T21.22. Spending the day in the buyer's chop zone. Okay, so looking like we get a downtrend forming. All right, so there's a possibility, you know, we kind of wind up going down to that anchored VWAP. All right, we got a couple of them down there. You got one at 630, and you got one at 633.50. All right, so good chance we wind up at the one at 633.50 tomorrow. All right, I don't know whether they're going to let us go to 630. If they do, I'll bet it's hard and fast, and we get a nice red rubber school ball bounce. All right, out of there all the way back up to the midpoint at least, and maybe even further. So there's T21.22. Again, we got lower highs, so what happens? We produce lower lows. Okay, T21.23. Okay, look at this. Look at it, look at it, look at it, look at it. New rally high for T21.23. Okay, new rally high. Okay, you got an uptrend. Here's some lows. Here's a low. There's a higher low. Got some highs. 1, 2, 3 highs. Got a higher high. That's an uptrend. All right. So price action up over this rising 200 SMA. Hey, that's bullish. All right. All right. We got a bullish gap up that did get filled by the bears. All right. Again, if we look over to the left, when I bring up the 3-bar chart, you're going to see there's some consolidation that we need to cut through before we take out the all-time high. All right, and I'll go visit that on the next chart. But anyways, bullish move, gap up, didn't get filled by the bears. All right, and they lasted until afternoon. All right, so the bulls right there, and then it looks like they got tired and they gave the ball to the bears. Bears didn't get far. They filled the gap and then over to the right, and they weren't able to close any candles down here. That's kind of bullish, really. All right, even though those are red, they're still holding the higher ground up here. If we look at price, let's take that out, bring in my squares. Okay, you've got consolidation right there. Okay, you can see it all right here, right in there. See the consolidation. And right here we've got, even though we got that red at the end of the day, okay, we've got consolidation on top of prior consolidation, okay? Okay, and you've heard me say this, you know, probably 102 times, okay? Consolidation over prior consolidation is a bullish behavior. It is a bullish environment, okay? We are still bullish, okay? Just because you see those red right there doesn't mean we're done, okay? We're still bullish. That is a bullish behavior, consolidating over prior consolidation. Notice, okay, you can see price isn't going up and giving it up, is it? All right? It's moving up, and it's holding the higher ground, and it's breaking out, and it's holding the higher ground, and it's breaking out, then it's holding the higher ground, okay? That's bullish. That's an uptrend. That's strength right there, Okay, so there we got T21.23. Here's a 3-bar chart. Okay, we've got some consolidation to cut through. Let me point it out here. Okay, so we already got past this low right here. Okay, so we got to cut through that high, and that low. All right, and I'm going to put the crosshairs up. We're going to take a peek and see just which one we're dealing with. So we're already on top of the low. All right, you can see right here. See the crosshair is up over the blue line. All right, so we're dealing with these two highs. Okay, so we could get a parabolic move pretty soon. We'll see. All right, right there. So that's all we got to deal with is these two highs. And then after that, it's just the all-time highs in our way. That's it, stopping us from making new all-time highs. So we got to cut through this, and it may take another day of consolidation. So again, another reason why we probably might see a down day. You're getting a little bit of clues here, okay? T21.22, making a lower high, digging out a lower low, okay? A little consolidation over to the right. Possible we visit down here. T21.23, okay, moving up. Notice the bears filled the gap, okay? So the bears are getting some control, but still bullish up there, okay? So we may get a short, quick meltdown again, and then rally right back up. We'll see what happens. And then the 3-bar chart, you can see price is dealing with those two highs right there. So we may get a little pause for a little bit, all right? That's normal. That's normal, okay? Can't expect to cut through that in one candle, all right, or one day, all right? It takes some time to grind this out. Remember, this consolidation occurred from, let's just say, the second week in October all the way till the first week in December, okay? So that's like, let's say it's 4 weeks. There's 3 there, 4 there. That's 7. That's 7 weeks of consolidation. Okay, it's going to take us more than 2 days to cut through 7 weeks of consolidation. Okay, and there might be some jockeying around up here. That's normal. All right, so that's T21.23, 3-bar. You got a low, you got a higher low. Okay, you got high, you got higher highs. Okay, that's bullish, and that's in an uptrend, and it's dealing with this consolidation over here. Okay, so that's looking good. Remember, FNGU, new all-time high today. Okay, you can see price action. All right, you can see the bullish gap up. Never got filled by the bears. Boom, right there. There's your clue. We're going to be bullish. Unfortunately, T21.23 and 22 did not help. They actually kind of melted price down. All right, so FNGU did their job. It was the other stocks in the index that helped melt it down. They didn't get up high enough, okay? I think if they were on top of VWAP, you wouldn't have seen that meltdown, all right? But they couldn't get up on top of VWAP. But they did get up here and consolidate, okay? Let's point this out, over prior consolidation, okay? So here's some consolidation, and you can see they're consolidating. It's hard to see, but it's right there. Over prior consolidation, just barely, all right? And that's bullish. That's a bullish behavior, all right? That's a bullish environment or characteristic. Okay, so here we got price action up over the 200 SMA. That's bullish. Again, a bullish gap that never got filled by the bears. Oh, yeah, that's bullish, okay? Here's another one never got filled by the bears. That's bullish, all right? So we went up, a little bullish this morning, and then a little bit of red, green, red, green, red, green. Looks like they were trading punches here. All right, then finally the bulls came in at the end of the day. Look at the big candles up to VWAP, all right, right there. Kind of indicating to me that there's some excitement regarding the FOMC announcement to become released, all right, on Wednesday at 2 p.m., all right? We'll see, all right? Again, it's just a hypothesis, so we'll see, all right? So there's FNGU. Let's go back over here. We'll look at energy, XLE. All right, here's XLE. XLE is, okay, let's just run through it quick. You guys have probably all seen it 100 times. Okay, you're not in the lower third. You're not in the upper third. Okay, you're in the neutral land. All right, so it's right here. Okay, you got a habit of moving up and giving it up. Again, move up, you give it up. You move up and you give it up. You can see all the times you move up and give it up right there. Okay, and again, we keep moving up and giving it up. All right, so we're just neutral. All right, even when we go down, we give it up. All right, doesn't matter. Up, we give it up. Down, we give it up. So we're just neutral. Okay, you're not in the upper third. You're not in the lower third. Okay, but we are in an uptrend. Right, because we got some lows, got some higher lows right here, got some higher lows right here, we got some highs right here, and we got some higher highs up here. Okay, when it gets up here on top of all-time high anchored VWAP right here, all right, and it's able to hold it up there for more than, well, let's just call it 14 days. All right, I'm just going to eyeball it quickly. All right, if it's able to hold it up there for more than 14 days, then we might have something, okay? Even if it's knocking on the door of the upper third, the fact that it holds over the all-time high anchored VWAP for 14 days or more, we might have something then, okay? Right now, we're just neutral, okay? But it is heating up, and it is looking good. That's XLE. All right, let's take a look at USO. All right, USO, in an uptrend, okay, because we got low, higher low, even higher high right there. It's a couple of highs, and there's a higher high. Okay, this was the global event right there. Okay, so let's just take out the global event and just look at price moves up, holds the higher ground. We're not even going to visit the global event. Price moves up, holds the higher ground. Hey, that's bullish. All right, we're not quite in the upper third yet. Okay, but that is bullish, and that is the crude oil fund right there, all right? So that's price action moving up, holding that higher ground. That's bullish up there. So we're still in an uptrend. That is a bullish behavior, but we're still in the neutral territory. Again, we're not in the lower third, okay? And we're not in the upper third, okay? So we're just in the neutral ground right through here, okay? Neutral, right in between those two. Bullish, bearish, neutral. All right. So price action, nice candle today. Okay. Higher low, higher high, closing over a bullish cross over the 17. That's bullish. Look at it. Price move up, hold the higher ground. That is bullish. We're up over the 3-year high anchored VWAP. That's bullish. You know what? That might even be in the upper third. I'm going to give it to them today. That is in the upper third. That is bullish up there on USO. Okay? Now let's see if they can hold it. All right? You can see 3 days, they give it up. 2 days, they give it up. 1 day, they give it up. Let's see if they can hold it this time. Okay? And you want them to hold it, you know, for more than 3 days, 5 days. This was a global event. Okay? Can't really count that. 5 days here. So let's look for 5 days or more up here in the upper third over the all-time high, the 3-year high anchored VWAP. All right. So there's USO in an uptrend, acting bullish and in the upper third. I'm going to give it to them. Okay. It looks really close. Actually, it looks like it's in. All right. So USO bullish and in an uptrend. Let's take a look at UNG. UNG. Okay, UNG, you got the head and shoulders, all right? It's the bearish head and shoulders pattern. Okay, this is triple top head. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, so there's your head. You got double top right shoulder right there. Double top left shoulder right there. You got your neckline. There's your challenge of your neckline. Unable to hold the higher ground up over the neckline. All right, they could have negated the head and shoulders pattern, but they couldn't hold the higher ground. Okay, so you got price action. Okay, we're looking for the right arm to extend down to where the left arm left off. This is the all-time low right here, all-time low. All right, and you can see price action clearly wants to visit that area. All right. So there is the all-time low. That's in a downtrend. Obviously, you can see price action. It's got high, got lower highs. Again, lower highs right here. Lower high, lower high, lower high. Okay, then we got lows below the 17. Okay, there's a low. See, it's a lower low. There's a low right there. Lower low. 4 lower lows there. An even lower low, an even lower low, an even lower low, and oh my God, an even lower low right there. Okay, that's a downtrend. All right, if you didn't know that, lower highs, lower lows is a downtrend. Okay, so that's in a downtrend, showing you the bearish head and shoulders pattern. All right, you can see they failed to get back over the neckline. Price action today, lower high, lower low, closing under the bearish trap, under the falling 17, all the way down here. Quadrant 1, okay, that's quadrant 1, okay, so that's bearish and in a downtrend, all right, UNG. Let's take a look at GLD and SLV, all right, that's gold and silver. They're both bullish, okay, gold, look at this, all right, this is what I talk about all the time. Price moves up and holds the higher ground, bullish, and look how long it's been holding it. All right, from like the middle of April, all right, and we're almost on August here. Okay, this is 1, 2, 3.5 months. That's bullish. That's really bullish. They're not giving this up. All right, that is really bullish up there. Okay, and they're in an uptrend. Okay, because you got higher lows. Okay, you got a low, got a higher low, higher low, higher low, and you got higher highs. Okay, you got a high. A high, okay, there's an all-time high, okay, there's a challenge of the all-time high, and there's a high, lower highs. Okay, you got all these highs up here. You got 4 highs, all right, this is bullish, and it's in an uptrend, all right, consolidating at the top of quadrant 4, bullish and in an uptrend. Okay, let's take a look at silver. Silver also bullish and in an uptrend, price action. Okay, you can see price moves up, holds, builds a launch pad, launches, builds a launch pad, launches, and then just kind of J-hooks right here up to new highs right there. Okay, so there's price action for silver. Okay, that is bullish because we're making higher lows and higher highs. Okay, in order for them to negate the uptrend, they would have to take out this, see the one below the 17, they'd have to take out that tail down there, okay? It's a tall order to take that out. They could do it if they wanted to, but I think they're just way too bullish right now. Okay, so silver in a daily, on the daily chart, is in an uptrend. Look at all the green dots, okay? And that's bullish up there. Quadrant 4, remember up here, quadrant 4, this is bullish, okay? And then on top of that, okay, you're over, this is I think that's the all-time high. Let me just check it, look. Yeah, that's the all-time high. Okay, you're over the all-time high anchored VWAP. Okay, so that's bullish. All right, you're also making new 13-year highs. Okay, so on the daily chart, that is right there is a 13-year high. Last time we were up there, 13 years ago. So there's silver. All right, let's take a look at a few quick ones, and we're going to wrap it up. SMH, bullish. Okay, moving up. Look at all the green dots. All the way up quadrant 4, that's bullish and in an uptrend. Okay? Okay, nothing broken there. Everything is still working. XLK. We're bullish and we're in an uptrend. Okay, new all-time high. Right? Drop the mic. It doesn't get any better than that. Okay, technology is on fire. I'm telling you, we're having an AI bubble. All right, so there's XLK. Let's take a look at XLF. XLF is lower high, lower low, closing in the bullish trap over the 17, okay? New all-time high on XLF was made on Friday, okay? Well, look at them. They're not leaving the area. That's bullish up there, okay? That's bullish, top of quadrant 4, all right? And in an uptrend, look at all the green dots, okay? It's pretty easy to see, Okay, bullish and in an uptrend. XLF. IYT. Okay, look at price consolidating at the top and the bottom of quadrant 4. Okay, you got price moving up. Trash that out. Let's get a bigger line. Okay, moves up, holds the higher ground. Again, planking for 2 weeks straight. Okay, that's bullish. All right, you're up over the all-time high anchored VWAP. That's a pink line right there. Okay, you can see price moves up, builds a launch pad, takes a ride, builds another launch pad. Call this a space station. Okay, and then we're looking for another blast off there. Okay, so there's IYT. Everything is bullish. Okay, everything that we need to have a robust rally, which we already have a robust rally. Okay, but I'm talking, I can really foresee some new all-time highs, which we're already getting those too. Okay, all right, but I can really foresee some even higher highs, like up to 650. Okay, so I can really foresee that. So price action has all the right makings. Okay, remember, we're bullish till we're not. Okay, as long as we got green dots under the daily and the two-hour chart, we're bullish. I'm going to stay on the side of bullishness. Will I trade some puts here and there? Yeah, but I also will give the market its due. I'm not going to test it. All right, it's still bullish. All right, I'm not giving up on a lot of my long-term calls. All right, so that's what's it. Yeah, nice inverted head and shoulders. Yes, absolutely. Yes, nice inverted. Let me spell that out for you. Thanks, Tex. Okay, again, inverted head and shoulders. Okay, so here's your blockhead down here. Okay, that's your blockhead. Okay, and your right shoulder. I'm going to put the lines in. There's your right shoulder. Okay, here's your left shoulder. Okay, looking for the right arm to extend up to where the left arm left off, right there. Okay, notice. Okay, they got caught on this. Remember, 2 prior highs. All right, but they're not giving up. All right, they could easily give up. All right, you've seen them give up before. Okay, but they're not. They're holding this area, and they're looking to grind out whatever's up over their head so they can get up higher. Okay? So there's IYT. That's inverted head and shoulders. Thanks, Tex, for pointing that out. All right, that's it for me for today. Okay, I'll see you guys all tomorrow at 8 o'clock. Thanks for hanging out with me. Kind of a tough day. We didn't get the puts. All right. It was not in my trading plan to trade puts today, but let me just say we had a 10-minute downtrend under VWAP that got tested once, and when I saw it break the red erases green, I traded the puts to the downside. I am still very bullish, all right? I am very bullish on the market still. There's no reason to be bearish, although we may get some pullbacks to those anchored VWAPs down below. I won't be surprised if we get those. And let's make sure you can see we got one right here at 580, and I got one right here. Okay, that's at, this one's at 622. I got another one right. Okay, I got one right here at 633.80. Okay, I think we're coming to see this one tomorrow. Okay, and the origination is this low right here. See the 22nd right there. Hey, oh, you know what? I want to mention this. Okay, Rick Sadler over at Hit and Run Candlesticks. He's having an open house tomorrow. Okay, starts at 8:45. All right, let me just say, this is an opportunity to get some free education. Okay, I encourage everybody to get educated. The more tools you have in your toolbox, the more versatile you are. All right, when it comes to trading the markets. Okay, so I urge everybody to get some more tools in their toolbox. Okay, Doug likes spreads. All right, And he does a lot of other stuff too, okay? But I'm just saying, like, if you can learn spreads from Doug, all right? Again, that's another tool for your toolbox. Rick likes straight directional options, okay? Here's another tool for your toolbox, okay? But he likes kind of like swing trades. He does day trading too, okay? But here's Rick, and he's going to have a free open house. It's free, all right? But all you got to do is register to get in. We're going to email you the credentials to get in, all right, in the morning, okay? And I think Ed will probably have the room already juiced up and ready to enter into by midnight tonight or later today after 7 o'clock. Okay, so again, it's free. It's tomorrow. It's at 8:45. He starts a morning prep video where he prepares you for the market. All right, and the day. All right, so 8:45 tomorrow. All right, July 29th. Now, where do you get the link? It's going to be in the description of the video, and it's also you can take your smartphone and scan the QR code, and that will open up a direct link to the link page, to the registration page, and you can get registered there. Okay, so hit and run candlesticks tomorrow, open house, Rick Sadler. It should be good. All right. Hey, thanks everybody. Have a beautiful evening. Thanks for hanging out with me. Hope you all made some money. I try very hard to provide profitable content that you make money with. All right. Thanks, Jim. Thanks, Robert. Thanks, Tex. Thanks, Mel. Thank you, everybody. All right. And Eric. Yes. Okay. We'll see y'all tomorrow, 8 o'clock in the morning. All right. Thank you.